Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1924 Buster Keaton silent comedy, The Navigator. Whoa, hold on. There's no need to get violent. We're just reviewing a movie that has 100% fresh rate on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm actually reviewing all the movies that have 100% fresh rate on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920s side of the movie era, then I got to the 1940s, and now I'm back to the 1920s. How did I get back to the 1920s? Well, one of the criteria for my list is that each movie has to have at least 20 critics review it from Rotten Tomatoes. This movie had 17, and then overnight it jumped to 22, so now it's on my list. The same thing happened with The Cameraman, which also has 20 critics reviewing it now with 100% fresh rating, so it'll also be on my list. So this movie has also an 89% fresh rating from the audience. It stars Buster Keaton as Rollo Treadway and Catherine Maguire as Betsy O'Brien. When this movie opens up, we are in a war room. There are two competing nations that are fighting each other. In the war room is one of the competing nations. They are deciding what to do with this ship called the Navigator. The Navigator was owned by the wealthiest person in this country, but he sold it to the competing country, and now they will have the best warship in the world. They decide that the best way to handle this is to let the ship drift out into the ocean, where it will crash amongst the rocks and destroy itself. Now, there's a very funny scene here where the guy who is making this declaration of what they should do, he's doing hand motions that don't necessarily go with what he's saying. I don't know if that's supposed to be a piece of comedy about silent films, but it's definitely unusual because when I watch silent films, they normally try to project what they are saying with their hands. So I thought it was kind of funny. I had to watch it a couple times before I really saw that. So they decide that this will be the best idea for their country. We are then first introduced to Rollo Treadway. He is the rich heir of some fortune. He is looking out the window and he sees two people in a carriage and it says just married. He decides then that he is going to get married. The only problem is that he does not have a girlfriend or a fiance, and he has not proposed to anyone, so he's really gone nowhere with this. He's just decided that he's going to get married. Now, I don't know if this is foreshadowing to show you that he is a bit aloof when it comes to the things that happen in life, that he doesn't really know how life works because he's rich. Maybe this is supposed to be some sort of satire on people who are wealthy and they don't know how the real world works. That's probably true because this happens many times throughout the movie, where him and the girl he proposes to, his next door neighbor, Betsy, is also aloof to pretty much everything in the world. So he goes next door, he proposes to his next door neighbor who is also rich. She of course says no, so he decides he's going to go on his honeymoon anyway, but when he gets to the dock, he boards the wrong ship and he boards the Navigator. Now, the girl he proposed to, Betsy, her father, was the original owner of the Navigator, and he decides he's going to go aboard the ship and just get some things that maybe he left and just see it one more time. When he gets to the ship, he is taken hostage, and his daughter hears it, and she goes to try to save him, and then she boards the Navigator, and it is set out to sea like they had wanted to do so that it can be destroyed. So now we have Rollo Treadway and Betsy O'Brien on this ship alone that's just kind of sailing out into the ocean. And this is basically the whole rest of the movie. The next scene, Buster Keaton kind of is walking along the ship trying to see if there's anyone else there. There's a scene where his hat flies off. There's also another scene earlier in the movie where his hat flies off and he grabs another hat. So I'm assuming that this is supposed to be a running gag throughout the entire movie where his hat just flies off and he has to grab another hat. Maybe that was funny back then. I don't know. So eventually him and Betsy fight each other. He proposes to her again. She, of course, says no. And then after that, they try to start figuring out how to live on the ship. There's a scene where they're trying to figure out how to eat. Rollo Treadway finds a can of some sort of food. He tries to open it. He fiddles around with it. He's unable to do it because he doesn't know how any of this works. He's rich. He has butlers. He has no idea. And then he's trying to boil some eggs in a pot, and he ends up trying to put the eggs on an upside down plate for some reason. Which is, which is what you do. So this movie, basically the rest of the movie, what it is they have a prop or they have an idea that they think is going to be funny. So they throw it into the movie and they see how long they can try to make it funny for. So the can goes on for a while. The boiling of the eggs goes on for a while. They then see a ship out in the sea. They run up a flag, but it's the wrong flag. The flag they run up means that they're in quarantine. Buster Keaton tries to go out into the ocean to fly down the ship, so he sees a boat. He goes on the boat like a little boat that you can go off into. But it starts sinking. And then Betsy jumps in to save him. And then as she's in the water, he gets up on the boat. And then, it's just like, let's see how long we can have this boat gag go on before it kind of reaches its climax. After that, there's kind of a scene where there's a picture in a window that's scary. That kind of is another, let's see how long we can make this last for. There's a Roman candle scene where they're trying to light some flares, and there's a Roman candle there, and it starts sparkling and going crazy. There's a scene where Buster Keaton, after the boat sinks, he kind of saves Betsy, who almost drowns. He puts her on this little recliner chair type of thing, and she keeps falling through it. He keeps trying to pick her up, and she keeps falling through it again. So one of those scenes where let's see how long we can take it. And then probably the most ridiculous one of these is where they're trying to sleep uh, outside and it starts raining, and then he has to wake her up and walk her inside because the rain doesn't wake her up, which is kind of weird. Eventually, they kind of figure out how to live on the boat. They kind of figure out how things happen. They're no longer aloof of what's going on. Eventually, they spot land, and when they look out the porthole, there's a group of natives who are after them. They're coming after them in boats. So they decide that they're going to try to turn the boat around, but their boat begins to sink, and for some reason, it has to be fixed from on the outside. So they find a diver suit. He goes in the diver suit. He fixes the boat. And then they decide that the boat that they're on is not the best idea. So they're going to try another one of the smaller boats that are attached to the boat. They ended up getting surrounded by the natives, and then somehow they crash into a submarine, and the submarine saves them. That's basically the entire movie in a nutshell. Sorry, I know that was a bit confusing the way I probably summarized that, but this movie's kind of hard for me because it jumps a lot between, like I said, between central scenes that they just are trying to get a laugh at. They set up a scene, they let it run for a while, they try to get a laugh about it, they set up another scene, they try to get as many laughs as they can out of that. And to be honest, when they get on the ship in the beginning, it kind of meanders like crazy throughout the entire movie where it just feels like it's going nowhere. It feels like they're just trying so hard to make these set pieces funny, to make these props funny, that there's really no story here at all. Besides the fact that they're drifting ashore and that they're trying to figure out how to live on this boat while it's drifting, there's no story at all. It's just, that's all it is. And it's like an hour and 15 minutes, but it was incredibly boring to me. I didn't think that most of this movie was funny. This is my second Buster Keaton movie that I've watched. The first one was Steamboat Bill Jr. I didn't really think that one was funny either. I just feel like he's obviously an actor, a comedian who does physical comedy. And I'm sure a lot of the things that he's doing here was some of the first time that these things were done. But they're just not funny to me. Maybe they haven't aged well. Maybe I've seen it redone too many times. I don't know. I watched this entire movie and honestly didn't laugh once, except for the part where the guy in the beginning's making those hand gestures that don't make any sense. I didn't really laugh at all at this movie. It's just not my type of comedy, I guess. I hope that my third Buster Keaton movie will be a little bit better. The acting's good, the music's good. I like the piano type music, as I have said before when I reviewed The Kid and The Gold Rush. I really like the piano comedy. I think all comedies have this piano music that goes with it instead of like the stringed instruments that you'll hear in the dramas. I prefer the piano to the strings, so that's really fantastic. The acting's good. Buster Keaton is very good at what he does with his physical comedy, and then even Catherine Maguire was good with what she was doing too. But to be honest, she's doing a lot of fainting and she's doing a lot of this, and it's fine. They didn't really give her a lot to do here, I felt, even though she's the only other person in the movie. I feel like she's just reactionary. She's reacting to what Buster Keaton does, which is fine. Buster Keaton can take the movie and just go away with it himself, but I just didn't think there was enough here for me. It's not that unique, at least from what I've seen before. I've seen a lot of silent film movies, and there are ones that are incredibly unique that do different things, and I just didn't see that here. It doesn't do it for me at all. So I'm going to give the Navigator a 6.5. Thank you. I hope you'll join me for my next review, which is going to be Buster Keaton's The Cameraman. Have a great day.